Hello and welcome again. This is episode 168 of the PassioKnit Spinner podcast, part 2, all the things I am working on. So what I didn't say in part 1, because I forgot, you can find me as Schnüffeltier on Ravelry and on Instagram. There is a Ravelry group that we barely use. There's also a Discord server that we use a bit more. I post VKNs on both of these. We have bi-weekly VKNs that we just, meet and knit together via Zoom. I do have a Patreon, and over there it's all about all of the fiber arts and kitchen antiques, and I post very frequently over there, unless I have COVID, then it's gonna, sink down, but it's gonna come back up now that I'm well again. And I'm gonna leave links to all of these things down below in the description box, and let's get started. So, things I'm actively working on, or semi-actively working on. I have 2 knitting projects. One of them is a pair of socks. So I had done this cast on nighties thing with socks last year in March. I cast on 12 pairs of socks, and I have finished about half of them. The other half I have been starting to finish off now. So for this pair, the first sock was done. First sock for all of the pairs was done. And it looks like this. These are also for my shop. The blue is a mystery yarn, but it is a 75-25. The green is Red Heart sock, also a 75-25. And I think I did these in a size 39. And the first one, like I said, was done. And I started the second one. And I'm not very far on it, just started. And it looks like this. I have done the cuff and a bit of the leg. I am doing 64 stitches, top down on DPNs, a traditional heel flap and gusset construction. You can see here, I do a slip stitch heel to reinforce it. And that's it. That's my sock stats. And here's the yarn. And this blue is the blue yarn that I used in the pair of socks that I showed in the last video for the heel. And yeah, so that is the first thing. I started these and then my mojo got lost. So I have no idea when I will go back to them because I still don't really feel like knitting. I'm not sure what's happening there. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, these will get done sometime, It's just, I feel so weird when I'm not knitting for such a long time. And they live in this Mad Bird bag. So that's the first thing. And the other thing I have not showed to you before. It's in this bag here. The bag is from Bird Leg Bags. And in here is something I started for Tim. And it is the Jones cardigan by Tin Can Knits. Let me find a pattern. So this is a paid for pattern by Tin Can Knits, and this is what it looks like. It's a very cute cardigan with cables. You can probably see it better here. So this is basically what it looks like. And I've made one of these for Tim before when he was like 1.5, 2. And of course, it's way too small by now. So now I'm doing another one. And I'm using this yarn here. It was hand dyed by my friend Sandra from Kunterbunte Wolle. And I had 2 of these skeins, and these are like a 6-ply sock yarn. So I wound them up. It's 300 grams in total. And I decided to make the Jones cardigan because I really loved knitting it the first time. And then I realized that my 300 grams might be not enough. So I went into my stash and I found a single skein of Regia Tweed 50-gram skein of Regia Tweed 6-ply in this natural with the brown tweed neb. And I'm using this for all of the ribbing on the cardigan. So I'm gonna show to you what it looks like. This is what it looked like when I stopped knitting. So here we are. I am alternating the hand-dyed yarn every other row, and the ribbing just really matches so well. And I think it looks like tiger stripes. I think this is going to be really, really pretty. And it's a cardigan, so of course it's gonna look like this in the end, but it's easier to show the other way around. So yeah, so this is it. I am knitting this on pony interchangeable needles, and I think it's a 4mm. Yeah, it's a 4mm. And these are, I love these because they are very long needles for for interchangeables, and I have very large hands, so even when I'm knitting, my, you know, that part of my hand is still something to hold on to. So yeah, I'm working on that in theory. I hope my mojo returns before he outgrews it. Yeah, I'm working on that whenever I feel like knitting again. And that is all the knitting I have done since last time. Or, you know, in the last 4 weeks. That's what I have done. That bit of a sock and that bit of a started sweater. So, like I said, I have lost all of my knitting mojo. I tell the story about what happened in the last like 3.5 weeks at the end of the first part of this podcast. So if you're interested, go watch that. So when I had lost my mojo, I didn't do anything for a while. And then I decided to do some hand sewing. And I got back into these projects. And I forgot to bring something. Timmy, kannst du mir vom Tisch die pinke Dose mit der weißen Dose oben drauf bringen, bitte? Beide? Ja, beide. So I forgot to bring something, and I am not going to edit this part as well. I had to edit the first part because the phone rang and I forgot to bring something, but I'm not doing that again. So, danke. So, my little minion brought me my things. I have decided to go back to hand sewing. And I had started 3 different projects for it. The first one, and I showed a lot of these a few years ago. I started doing a hexagon quilt, English paper piecing hexagons. And I had finished 3 of them, I think. I'm not sure. I for sure had done already completely finished these 2. I always put 9 of them together, because then they will still fit in this little Ziploc bag. And I think I might have also had finished that one. So these 3 were already done. And then I had one more prepared, and that was that one. And I put it together, and then I was out of prepared hexagons. So I prepared another 2 of them. That's the first one. Prepared everything, put them together. And then this one. So these are 1.5-inch hexies, and I'm using every kind of yarn from my leftover bin, because I've been sewing for 7 years now, and I'm using mostly woven fabrics. So I have a gigantic box of leftovers. And then when I had finished these, cutting the hexagons out of the fabric takes forever. It's my least favorite part of this whole process. So what I did, thanks to someone on Instagram who said to me, you should get a rotating cutting mat for that. That makes life so much easier. And they were so right. So I ordered one of them. It's an 8-inch round little cutting mat. But, you know, to cut these fabrics, it's perfection. So I got that cutting mat, and then I was able to cut 3 fabrics at once, and not just one. And that made the whole process a lot easier. So I put together another 9 hexi patch thing. And the the idea for these is to make a large quilt for myself. And I have 7 of them now, which is, you know, still a tiny amount. Tiny, tiny quilt. But I will keep going. This is not a project where I'm in any rush, you know. It's just gonna happen. And so far, all of the fabrics have been used only once. And down here, I have a lot prepared. I'm gonna show them to you. But I want to get, you know, through that leftover bit. I have a gigantic box of leftovers, and you can barely see that I used anything from it. So I am abandoning my idea of only using every fabric just once in favor of getting rid of as many scraps as possible. So that's these. And this project lives in this pink box here. I have had this as a crafting box for a long time. It used to house all of my knitting needles, and now it houses my my hand sewing project. And I have prepared patches of 9 like this. So in here I have these little clover clips, these wonder clips, and I glue based. So I have one of those. I have one of these. This is a Soline glue pen. It has textile glue in it, or fabric glue or whatever, as like a Pritt stick. And you use this to baste the fabric to the paper, and it makes things a lot quicker. So when I had cut all of the hexagons with the cutting mat, you know, once I got that, I prepared, I think, 10 of these, or 8. I prepared 8 of these 9 patch stacks. The first I have already put together. And then what I did, I had glue basted everything. And then I tried to make sure that the colors that I have for one of these are as diverse as possible. And made sure to just, you know, have them be very colorful and not too many of the same color, not too much of the same color value. And I have prepared all of these. They are ready to be sewn. All of these are going to be 9 patches, and they are held together by wonder clips right now. And I have this one. And yeah, you cannot really see a lot, but I'm going to show them to you anyways, so you can see that the colors are very colorful. And I also have one hexagon already double in here. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, I didn't want to do doubles. And then I just thought, you know what, just use what you have and don't cut perfectly perfect bits of fabric just to get a hexagon out of it. So I'm going to use the scraps, and I will have doubles or triples, because ultimately in a large quilt, who cares if you have 3 times of the same hexagon. So yeah, like I said, these are 1.5 inch hexagons. They are really pretty. I really enjoy sewing them together. And what I have done, I saw someone sent me an EPP video reel thing on Instagram, and she had used those little magnets. And then I went, oh, I was like, ooh, okay. They're also from Soline, which I have the pen from. And they're a pack of 5 sets, and they cost like 25 euros. I was like, you know, I love the idea, but 25 euros for 5 magnet sets, that's just a lot of money. And I told my husband about it, and he was like, oh, I do have some tiny magnets upstairs. You can have them. I don't need them. So what I have now are these. I'm going to try and show them to you. Let me put those down here. So I have this little one that looks like a, for, you know, a game. And at the bottom, I have 4 of these super small, tiny magnets. And what I do with these, I use these. Now I don't have a hexagon that I can take apart. Let's pretend I have to sew this, right? So I am going to use 2 of them, and I will put my hexagons together like this, and they will be held in place by the little magnets, and I can just sew without the wonder clip being in the way. I'm not sure if that made sense to you, but it's a super handy thing. I'm gonna get 3 of these. So with the larger hexagons, I actually use 2 pairs of these tiny magnets. Let's just get real. So I am using them like this. I put them on like that, make sure that everything aligns, and I can sew my one side. And these little magnets will hold my hexies together. And if you don't use the official quilting magnets, you can get a set of 50 of these in the hardware store for like $5. So that's what I'm using, and they are just very practical, you know. And then I just put them away again, and that's it. So yeah, I am loving that. And just put my hexies back where they came from. So yeah, that is a sewing hack that I was unaware of before, and now I just have them in here. Also, wonder clips will hold very well, and yeah, it just works, you know. So I have this little box here that holds my needles, my sewing needles. It holds my scissors, the little magnets. Everything is in here. And I also just recently ordered a spool of Aurifil thread, because I hear that that is the best one for hand sewing projects. And this little spool of thread cost 15 euros. So I really hope it's going to be good. I mean, it's going to hold a long time, you know, because it has a lot of meters on it. It doesn't actually tell me how many meters. But I mean, it's a gigantic spool of thread, but it was very expensive. So I'm just really hoping that it's as good as everybody says. And so that's the first hexagon project that I am still working on, and that I'm going to be working on for the next like 10 years. So the other thing I have been working on is hexagon flowers. So this flower here I had done years ago. Again, these are 1-inch hexagons this time. And I had prepared, this one was finished sewing, almost finished sewing, had it done like half. Timmy, ignorier's bitte. It's the phone again. And I know who it is because they tried my cell phone before, but I'm gonna ignore it and hope it's gonna stop. Yeah, schau vorbei, schau. And I also had prepared this hexagon flower, and I had no idea what to do with these. I just prepared 2 flowers for no reason, and had half sewn one and the other one was basted, and that is it. So I finished sewing the first flower. Then I put together my second flower, and then I prepared 3 more. And the first one I have put together. It looks like this. And I have 2 more. One of them, that would have been so much easier. One of them already has the magnets on. It has this fabric here for the inside of the flower, and this fabric for the outside hexagons. And the last one that I have prepared is this one here. It has this purple fabric for the inside and this snowflakey fabric for the outside. And these are, like I said, 1-inch hexagons. And I had no idea what to do with these. And I'm still not quite sure, but I have this whole project in this box. And this box is from my moisturizer. When it was empty, I cleaned it and really cleaned it out. And then when it was super clean, I put it in the dishwasher. And now it holds this hexagon project. Everything is in here. This is perfect. So this is that project, and I've now decided what to do with these. So I'm going to leave it at these 5 colorful hexy flowers, and I will put like creamy whitey colored hexagons all the way around, and I will put these into a table runner with the colorful flowers in the foreground, the creamy white in the background, and that is going to be this project. So that's hand sewing project number 2, and I have hand sewing project number 3 as well. And it is in this box. So first I had everything in that big pink box, but with 3 started projects in it, it was just getting way too much. So I decided to take one of them out, and it is this project here. So in here I have a Quilt-as-you-go hexagon project, and these I love. So they look like this. There are these hexagons, and they have quilt batting in the middle, and this is the back. So I'm going to show to you how you do these. And I have like 6 of them. I have 6 finished, and that's the first, second, then that one, this one. So for these, I just make sure that my colors are very contrasty. And I have 3 more pinned to be sewn. And I'm gonna show you what they look like before. So it's actually quite simple. I have a whole stack of them prepared and ready to go. And what you do is you cut a hexagon, and this is a 1.5 inch hexie. And you also cut a 2.5 inch hexie. And once you have them pinned together, so you cut a 1.5 inch hexagon out of fabric and 1 out of batting. And for me, I used batting, and I also used scraps of iron-on batting from making project bags. So this is it now, and what you do then is you fold it to your edge to edge, and then you fold it over and you pin it in place, and you do that on all 6 sides, and then you sew it down, and that is your finished hexagon. It's super easy to do. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I have all of these prepared. I will probably make a cushion cover. I have no idea yet. I'm not sure. I'll find out. But like I said, the only thing I did make sure of was that my colors are contrasty. So I have this green in the middle and this red to go around. Another one looks like this, or half. This was a button-down shirt for my husband that I turned into a top for myself. So I have this, and on the outside this pink. And I'm gonna make this also all from the leftover bin. I'm gonna sew them together into those little hexagons, and then you put these together as you would normal fabric hexagons. And then, yeah, like I said, I will probably make a cushion cover out of these. You could also put them together with the sewing machine by putting them really next to each other and then zigzagging them together, but I'm not sure if I like that idea, and I'm not sure if that will actually really hold. On the other hand, for a cushion cover, for a cushion, you know, on my chair, it probably would be a good idea. I'm not sure yet. So these are my 3 hand sewing projects that I have been working on and that I am really enjoying. And then I have one more thing to show. So let's get rid of these first. Let's put them back into their little Ziploc bag. I have them in this zipper bag because then I can put that on a hanger for trousers, you know, the one where you can just squish something in. And I can squish that in and have it hanging on my door, so it will not take up a whole lot of space. that's why I have not yet started putting these together, because then I will have a lot of, I will need a lot of space, which also now gives me the problems that I need to get more papers. If I were to sew these together, I could take out the papers from all of the middle bits. And I tried looking into finding a cutter, you know, or like a cutter for making these quickly and efficiently. And I have one for 1-inch hexagons, and it's amazing. But these are 1.5-inch hexies, and I cannot find anything. So I have to bite the bullet and buy a set of papers for them. So now, last thing I have actively on the hook. It's in this box here, and it is a blanket. I started another blanket. I'm not sure what it is about blankets, but I love blankets. In here is my super old iPad. That is, I cannot update it anymore. It's just way too old, but it still works with the internet, which is good because I need it to show me the pattern for this. So in here I have these yarns. They look like this. All of them are a cotton polyamide blend. And I am using these to crochet a blanket called Charlotte's Universe. And it is a free pattern on a blog. It's a picture tutorial. There's a video tutorial. If you don't like the pictures, you can go to the YouTube video tutorial. There's charts and there's written instructions. And it's for free. And it's a gigantic blanket. So this is incredible. So here's what I've done so far. This is what my blanket looks like right now. I have finished through round 51 on one of the 4 sides. And I think the whole blanket is like 120 rounds in total. I'm not sure, but this is what I've done so far. I really, really love it. So I haven't crocheted anything with an actual pattern in a very long time. The last thing I did crochet was that basket, but that was only single crochet. You know, nothing important, nothing fancy. This, a lot of fancy. But so far, I have not had to look up anything. I have been able to do it. I'm using the picture tutorial for when I'm not quite sure, and I'm using actually the written instructions for this one, because it's actually easier. So on the weekend, while watching, I think 5 episodes of Stranger Things, I managed to make one of these rounds here. So this took a while. These little flowers, you can see them better here. These little green flowers, they took forever. Forever. I think it took me like 6 hours to do those 2 rounds where you do those flowers. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. You start in the middle with that flower, and then you go outside, you do those little triangles, and then you square it up again. And yeah, so here's where I am right now. I have decided for mine, I have one of those skeins. It's really big. It's a brown skein, and it's a gradient skein. And I'm using that basically to break up the pattern every now and then. And for the other ones, I just try to alternate between blue-green and pink-red. And so far it's working out nice. I mean, the colors are, I didn't choose these colors. This is one of those projects where it's like, ooh, I like the colors. How did you choose them? I didn't. These are all the yarns that I have that are in this way of making yarn, which is a, this is an unplied yarn, okay? In Germany, they're called Gefacht. They are not plied. So it's just three strands of different colored fiber put together, but not plied together. So yeah, I had these in my stash. Some of these I have had in my stash for 15 years, and the other ones for like 3 or 4. I'm not quite sure why I bought them, because I never use these. So this is where I am right now with this project. And because it is a cotton polyamide blend, this will be my like my summer duvet, because I run very hot. so I don't need something really warm, you know. The last few years I've been sleeping without anything, but I just like a blanket. You know what I mean? It's a bit weird, but this will be my summer blanket for sleeping under. And I just love it. I think this is going to be really pretty when it's done. And so yeah, I have to repeat this shapey thing on the other 3 sides. Then there's going to be more triangles like these. And that is where I will introduce the last color that I have not yet used, and it's this one. And then it's more around and around. So yeah, that is this blanket. It's called Charlotte's Universe. It's a free pattern. It is wonderful. I think it's also available in like 3 or 4 different languages. So it's incredible. Now I folded it, and this is basically a quarter of what I have done so far. This is also a project where I thought to myself, if I don't keep going and just work on this until it's done, I will never pick this back up. So I am really hoping that I will not run out of steam on this project, because like I said, I don't think I will ever pick it back up. So that is that. The first actual crochet thing I think I've ever shown here. And I'm super enjoying it. It's probably because it's something I rarely do, you know. It's just the perfect thing to do right now. And that is the last thing I have actively been working on. So I just very briefly wanted to talk about the books that I've read and about what I've been watching. So let's start with watching. I watched Stranger Things, seasons 2 and half of season 3 so far. We watched the first season a few years ago and just never got back to it. And I do not understand why, because I love it so much. So I've been watching that. We've been watching we've been watching a lot of Ink Master videos, because I just think that the art behind the tattooing is incredible. And so we've been watching a lot of that. And last night, my husband and I watched The King's Men, which is the prequel movie origin story for the Kingsman video films that came out a few years ago. And we loved those. You know, the first Kingsman movie was amazing. The second one was good, but not as great as the first one. But this third one, I did not like it at all. I just didn't like it. So we watched that last night for reading. I brought my reading journal because without that, I would have no clue what I read. So last month, I think I have talked about Well Met before, which was a romance novel that took place in a Ren fair. And I think that's the last we spoke. So after that, the next thing that I finished, and that was a long time after, I finished an audiobook, and that was The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I have no idea how to say his name, but he's the guy who wrote The Witcher. And The Last Wish is basically the prequel story to The Witcher story, or The Witcher saga. And it is a short story collection. And that is also what the first season of The Witcher series on Netflix is based on these short stories. So I listened to that audiobook and I really enjoyed it. Then I read something you probably would not guess. I read Faust by Goethe, and it's a 5-star book. It's just such an amazing story. It's written in verse, so I do not know how an English translation would be. I just have no clue. But the German original is just really, really wonderful. So I read that. I have been reading that for over a year. It's a super short book, but I have been carrying it around in my purse, and whenever I was at the supermarket and I had to wait, or I was out on a walk, I would just read a few pages here and there. So I just took it out of my purse and finished it. Then I read a book called The Risk. It is the first book in the Mindfuck series, which is a book series about a female serial killer and an FBI agent. And they fall for each other without knowing who the other one is. She knows that he's the FBI, but she doesn't know that he is actually a serial killer hunter. And he, of course, doesn't know who she is because, you know, that would be weird. So that's the setup. It is very much, it is very much like Criminal Minds meets Shades of Grey, minus the kink from Shades of Grey. I really liked it. It's the first book in a 5-book series. They're very short books, more like novellas. So yeah, I read the first one and I'm definitely going to read the other 4. And then I listened to the audiobook of Blood and Circuses, and I think that's the 6th book in the Franny Fisher series by Kerry Greenwood. I listened to the other 5 last year and I picked it back up where I left off, and it was okay. So far they've all been okay. 4 stars, probably. So that's that. And then this month I already finished 3 more books, and all of them were audiobooks, and they are all from the same series, and that series is called Tee Café Mord. It's a German series. It's by Ellen Barksdale, but I could not find an English version of it, so I'm not sure. But I've been listening to the first 3 books in the series. It's a mystery series, and it's about God, what's her name? Natalie. I think her name is Natalie. I'm not sure. And she inherits a pub and cafe / B&B situation from her aunt. But in order to get her inheritance, she has to stay there for a year and, you know, keep everything going. So she decides to do that. And then it turns out that her cook and her aunt used to investigate things and help out the local policeman, who's a bit of a doofus. So she picks up where her aunt left off. Premise. So the first one is called Der doppelte Monet, which means the double Monet, the painting thing. The second one, Die letzten Worte des Ian O'Shelley, it's the last words by Ian O'Shelley. And the third one is called Die blauen Pudel des Sir Theodore, the blue poodles of Sir Theodore. And they were fun short mysteries, you know, nothing too fancy, not so super hard to find out who did something or didn't. But yeah, they're audiobooks and they were easy to read and listen to. They were super short. So that's what I've been reading. I started reading the second book in the Brown Sisters series by Talia Hibbert, and it is called Take a Hint, Danny Brown. And I really enjoy it, but I had to take a bit of a break because the male protagonist suffers from severe anxiety, and so do I. So I needed to, you know, it became a bit too real. So I had to take a step back before getting back into the story. I also started a book that I have here conveniently. It's this book. It's not a good book. So this is a book about a guy named Richard, you know, and a woman and her husband. And it's so weird. So basically, this married couple, his name is Sylvain and her name is, what's her name? Oh, it's Chris. It's like a biographical. So this couple, Sylvain and Chris, they meet Sylvain's colleague from far away, and his name is Richard something, and of course everyone calls him Dick because I don't know why, but ich kann jetzt nicht. Okay. So they meet this guy, and they have dinner together, and Chris is like, whoa, this is like the hottest human being on earth. And she talks to her husband about that and tells him that she basically fell in love with Dick. And then her and her husband start writing letters to Dick, you know? And they're basically harassing him, like really, really harassing the man. And he's like, you know what, people, just please stop. And they don't. And I mean, this has been praised as a super feminist book. Why exactly? Because it's a woman who's doing the harassment? Is that why it's feminist? There's nothing feminist about this. She's a crazy bitch. And the poor man who suffered at the end of these things, I mean, I'm this far in and I'm already angry about the book. I'm going to continue for a bit longer, but I'm not liking this. Not at all. So that's that. And last night I started The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I am reading the German version because I had it. Would have preferred to read the English version, but I do have the German version, so I'm going with that one. And I only read one chapter, so I have no idea. Cannot tell you anything about it. So that's the reading, also the listening and the watching. And I think that is it. So for everything else, we have a VKN coming up this Saturday. I have no idea what the date is. I don't know. This Saturday. It is the, what is it? It's the 7th today. So the 12th probably. I will post links and everything on Discord and on Ravelry. I will announce it on the day before on my Instagram. So you should follow me in any of those places. And so that's the VKN. It is open to everybody. So if you've never joined a VKN and you want to, just please come check us out. We're a very nice bunch of people. And for mental health. So as you might have guessed, the last 3 weeks have been very bad for my mental health because I knew that my husband was positive for COVID. I had the exact same symptoms, kept testing negative, and I just didn't understand what was going on. And then I waited for things to get bad, you know, for this sickness to really grab a hold of us. And that never happened. So I'm still in this weird limbo where I'm waiting for things to get horrible and they don't. And it's really bad. I have hit, I think, the lowest point of my journey anxiety-wise last week. And it's been getting a bit better day by day. But I still wouldn't say that I'm good. You know, I feel really bad. And the state of the world is just giving me so much more anxiety because, you know, there's always been war on this planet all the time. And this time it's getting closer. It's getting closer, and that's what's getting to me right now. And I'm not naive enough to think that it's the first war in forever, because there's always been war all the time. And it's not the first war in Europe since the Second World War, because, you know, there was the Kosovo war just like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So, and I very vividly remember that. So it's just really, really bad. And having to explain to my child what's happening to the world, and that he won't be able to have gym class anymore and his extracurricular gym thing that he does, because our gym will be used for refugees sometime this week. They will arrive and we don't know anything and not sure how to help and what they need. And it's really hard right now. And that is also getting to me, because then I look around me and I see how good a life I live, you know, and then I feel really bad about that as well. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it, you know. I don't want to whine because I have a good life. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. I decided to do these podcasts despite everything that's going on, because I needed an hour or two of normalcy, you know? And I hope that when you watch these podcasts, you will get that same little bubble feeling, okay? I'm in my bubble now, I'm watching a podcast, and for this hour, I am just here and away from everything that's going on. And it's okay to do that. And it's okay to say that you need that, because we cannot take everything on at all times. It's too much. So yeah, that's what I have been up to in the last 4 weeks or so. And I have no idea when I will podcast next. Ideally next Monday, but I don't know how much I will want to do stuff, you know, and I don't podcast without anything to show. So whenever I have stuff to show, I will be back. And until that happens, I really hope that you are being safe, that you are okay, that you can help people who need your help right now. And I think that's it. I hope you all have a wonderful time, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye.